Comics Unity. Comics Unity. Hi guys, Andy N. Comics Unity in the house. Starting a new ongoing series today. Yeah, I've got no Michael with me and no Amanda, but so I've got a different pair of helping for once. Hollie, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them who you are and where your love of comics came from, and then we'll tell people what we're doing today and going forward.
Okay, hi, I'm Hollie. I have a PhD in comic studies, looking at the role of the parent-child relationship. So definitely looking forward to this chat. So yeah, my love of comics has been there forever, and I particularly love things like Image Comics. And obviously Marvel and DC, so yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Big fan of Image myself at the moment. They've got a lot of the best series going. But we're not talking about Image today, are we? So now we're going to, what the plan at the moment, I think we're going to do is monthly, maybe more, maybe less, where we're going to talk about and run as comics. Now, the one we're going to talk about today is one I knew the writer, but I didn't know this run, Miss Marvel, done by G. Willow Wilson. Now, I can tell people a bit about G. Willow Wilson, but I want to know what drew you to this run first of all.
Yeah, so when I was researching for my PhD, one of the main focuses for me was intersectionality. So I wanted people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different genders to be represented. So having a South Asian Muslim character was a really, really important aspect of it. So looking at Miss Marvel as the first female Muslim superhero to headline her own series, it was one of the, I suppose, the most interesting series that I looked at.
It's a fascinating one, really, because obviously with G. Willow Wilson, she wrote the series well over 4 years, didn't she?
Yeah.
Pardon me. And I didn't realise until I read it before that she'd actually just gone back to the series as well, because she's done some online story for them as well. It obviously says like she's still involved with the character, and it really is an interesting comic because I've not come across, and you've said this before, you know one case, don't you, where the representation of Asians in comics like this, and it's truly groundbreaking. So do you want to tell people about it first of all then? Obviously it's Kamala Khan, isn't it? And they did a soft reboot of Miss Marvel, so.
Yeah, so Kamala Khan is the main character, I guess. She's a Pakistani American teenage girl who is gains her powers through Terrigen gas. So she develops embiggening powers, they're called, so she can adapt her size. But what's really interesting about her is her Muslim background is such a prominent part of it. Her costume is adapted from a burkini, and most of the stories revolve some way around her Muslim American background and her identity crisis, particularly in the early issues. So I think that's a particularly fascinating aspect of her character.
It's a fascinating battle because you get to the end of the first 5 issues when her father confronts her and sends her off, done it for guidance, as he calls it. And you're expecting her to get told by this guidance guy, cut boys out. Then if you tell him you're trying to help people, he actually encourages them. And it's really it was surprising, but I think it took away the stereotypes. And it is obvious by the writer, this must have been based on somebody she knew. Because it felt that sort of closeness, didn't it, really? So.
It did, and I think the fact that G. Willow Wilson herself is a Muslim American, it gave it the authenticity that so many stories lack because they're written by be it a white writer or a male writer writing a female character, and the fact that she is Muslim American, it gave it that bit more authenticity.
Yeah, no, definitely with it. Now I know in her case she turned Muslim herself in 2003. Yeah. And it was showed originally when obviously their first graphic novel came out in 2007, which I know you've not read yet, called Cairo. Cairo is it's interesting because that, if you need that into air in the graphic series, I know her through from Vertigo in particular. All 3 of these series have all got the very same sort of surrealness. It's almost Monty Pythonish in places. And Miss Marvel, I can see that with it. It's just there's all kinds of craziness going on in it, where it doesn't seem to overpower the story, does it? So.
No, it really fits with the character. There's a lightheartedness to her that a lot of the Marvel characters lack. Like I think she'd probably remind me most of Spider-Man in the kind of the lightheartedness. So I do think that that absurdity kind of fits with her character.
Yeah, it's been good. I've read quite a few comparisons from my own research on this, and it did come up quite a few times. People compare it like a Muslim version of Peter Parker, and again you can see it, and that's why when they started the series off, say 6 years ago, you can see what they were obviously had something major in mind. It's whether they planned for it to go as big as what they did is another ball game, I suspect. So that's why. Now, what I couldn't get my head around was, and I don't know if you're aware why this. I know originally they did it was 18 issues, didn't they? Then they seemed to go for a soft reboot a couple months too later, didn't they? Well, then they did another 38 issues. Do you know why they did it that way in the middle?
I actually don't know why they did that. I mean, I would theorize that it was because it was such a popular series. I mean, when it came out first, it broke the digital download records. So
did it really?
I would imagine
Wow.
that had something to do. Yeah. In 2014, I think it was. They broke the download record. So I'd imagine that has something to do with it. The sheer popularity.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense sometimes, doesn't it? If you can take a quick pause in the narrative, then come back, and instead of doing a new storyline, start again. That it's quite clear from the comic. It's groundbreaking, and I didn't know what this was a download thing, but I could see straight away. I thought I've not read many Marvel comics like this before, and it's definitely it went off in a completely different direction. So it was great to watch and read. Now I've got to ask you as well. Obviously, you've read further than me, but I know we said before, didn't we? We both really enjoyed where they had like the fill-in episode where instead you read filling one, you dread, don't you? What's going to happen next? But we both loved that. We talked about how they used Wolverine in it. I thought Wolverine was brilliant. It was.
Yeah, it really helped to, I suppose, it progressed her character without taking away from the narrative. She needed I suppose the interaction with Wolverine to kind of see where she was as a hero herself. And characters like Loki coming in, they helped her character develop without taking away from the main storyline. So I think the filler issues in this series are fantastic.
Yeah, I'm well looking forward to carrying on reading this. Just as much as the main storyline, we see what they do with the filling issues. Because I've had a quick look at the artists coming up, and what they seem to have done really well is you seem to have kept them at the core of the artists for the full of the run, basically. After obviously, I think some of the filling ones have changed a bit, but the main artist or two stayed, didn't they? Right to the end of it. So
yeah, for the most part, I think it's Alfona is the artist for the most part, and that helps as well. I mean, to have that consistency, it makes it, I suppose, a more enjoyable read as well.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. So it gives it the consistency, doesn't it? Really, straight away with it. So now. Is there anything hints you want to give to people about later issues that gone beyond what I've seen then?
I think my favorite part about the later issues is her realization that she doesn't necessarily need to fit with everyone else's idea of a hero. Like without going too much into it, that is one of my favorite aspects of the later issues.
Yeah, no, I get it completely. I think I like the fact where she had obviously in the storyline it involved I forgot the dog's name. The dog now from the Inhumans. What's his name? Sorry. My mind's completely on blank on me. I've just read it as well. Anyway, the third issue, the third one, where they had against and the big dog came with the Inhumans, and I love that where she had all her friends around her, and it didn't seem to jar from the character too much. And I liked the fact where she felt she didn't have to hide who she was from her friends. Perhaps from her family. That's a different sort of ball game altogether. But it just seemed to give it was an earthiness there. Like I think you very rarely see a Marvel comic sometimes, and in a very sort of innocent sort of way. And that was really, really lovely, entertaining book it was. So
yeah,
that's why. So is it still going? Obviously, after G Willow left, is it still carrying on the series at the moment? Is it?
Yeah, I think a new volume came out at the end of last year, a new collected edition. As far as I'm aware. Yeah, I think it's still going on.
Yeah, I had the feeling it was one of those ones where they want to keep it going on, basically. Obviously, you get series as so successful as that. It's one that you're going to want to obviously keep carrying on with, then, aren't they? So That's why. So no, I can believe in that. So yes, it was really interesting to watch. So, now, tell us, you were telling me before about one other Muslim character you've come across in comics, haven't you? Now,
Yeah, I
what
can't
comic
think of the
actor
name off
was
the
it?
top of my head.
Hmm.
Sorry?
I was going to ask you, what can you remember the name of the character was?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. But she was only in a couple of issues. She was never a headliner character herself. And she was very much seen through the lens of Orientalism. So it was kind of, I suppose, a less accurate representation of what Muslim identity is. So I think, yeah, she didn't last very long as a character. Um, so I think having, Miss Marvel as the first Muslim American character and having G. Willow Wilson as a Muslim writer, it definitely gives a different perspective on the character and a much more accurate representation. So yeah, I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
No, don't worry about that. Right. So, well, like I said, it's interesting. I really recommend Miss Marvel to anybody completely, because it's one of those series where it does make you wonder whether, when Marvel sort of agreed to it, whether they realised what they were going to get. Because it's one of those sort of series that could have died a death quite easily, but it didn't, did it? You said already it broke a record for digital downloads when it first came out. And you're seeing it, you can see why.
Yeah, it was the highest digital download of that year, and even the fact that now she's one of the main faces of the new Marvel video games. I think, yeah, I'd say it surprised everyone how fast the character took off.
Yeah, I think it definitely did with that. And it's very nice, really fascinating character to talk about. That's why I find it really, really engaging. So that's why I know you're right. It's what's good about it was its consistency as well throughout all of it as it went along. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next. Obviously, we know that I've told you before that G. Willow's now gone to doing the dreaming for the Neil Gaiman universe for Marvel, not say Marvel, DC. And have you heard what she's planning to do with that?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, I've not read the issue yet. The first one's out, I think, and the second one seems to be something about. It's called the new series is called The Dreaming Waking Hours. And it was like, I think they originally were going to carry it on. They have C. Sparrow just left it to do Hellblazer, didn't he? Say a couple months ago. And it's basically about, it's meant to be a comedy about a Shakespeare scholar struggling with being a new mother and writing a thesis that's also a queer romance like Nightmare falling in love with a human. And there's also been good omens kind sort of humor between the two main characters as well. So I think it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting series, actually. So.
Yeah, I really like the sound of that. It does sound like it's going to be fascinating. Can't wait for it now.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I know the first issue's out. Just check when it came out. It came out in July or something, I think. Right? Yeah, and I think the second or third issue's out now as well. So I'm going to have to go back and double check this myself, because it's got that sort of groundbreaking that what she does, obviously, in both air for the surrealism and also the earthiness, the humour that you're going to find in Miss Marvel. So I think it'll be a really good series to watch. Everyone definitely that. So now, is there any storyline you particularly like more than others in the Miss Marvel one, Hollie? Off the top of your head.
I off the top of my head, I really liked when she first met the Inhumans. I don't know if you got that far.
Nowhere near that far yet.
I really love that, because it was a turning point for her character, and I suppose without spoiling it too much, it gave her a choice. I suppose gave her a kind of an ultimatum for who she wanted to be. So I really, really liked that. And it's reasonably early on. It's in the trade paperbacks. I think it's in volume 3, maybe.
Yeah, I'll be on that shortly then, no doubt. So yeah. No, I'm looking.
So it's reasonably early on.
I'm looking forward to it, because each of the cameos I've seen so far, they haven't. I think sometimes the danger is when you bring something like Wolverine into your comics, you can overshadow, because he's so popular and famous. You bring it into characters just setting up, you can overshadow that character. And he didn't really. It was primarily her comics still. And I thought that was good writing, really, really good writing. So it might have brought a few extra reasons in because it's Wolverine, basically. And like I said, with Loki coming in issue 12, but again, I like the way where she seemed like Loki, for example. Like, I love Phil and the fact that he expected to come in and cause absolute bedlam when he did, but he didn't go around killing loads of people or causing mass destruction and coming repaired. I like the fact where she confronted him and then we realised, oh, put a spell on him. Yeah, it's fine. Go away now. Job done. It was like,
yeah, it was total chaos, but no real destructive power for him there, which was good. And I particularly loved in the Wolverine one how by the end of it she was as important a hero as he was. She did as much to save the characters as he did. So it's a real turning point for her as well, where she's no longer just the fan, she's becoming a hero in her own right. And I thought that, it was a really important standalone issue.
Yeah, no, I got that. And that's why, as shows you realise that it raised a good couple of points in her own head outside the main storyline. It was like, sometimes when comics are done with a real good one-off issue like that, you come at the end, I think it was two-part storyline. You can enjoy it more than the main 4 or 5-part storyline sometimes. That's what I really, really enjoyed about that. I thought, yeah, really good, fun storyline. So excellent. So yeah, excellent. Yes, brilliant. Thank you for that, Hollie. So that's pretty well all I've got to say about it there, really. So we've done. But if anyone wonders, we're going to have a sit down and have a chat with me and Hollie in a few weeks. We're going to try and do a second one, aren't we? Pick something else out that we can touch base in a couple of weeks' time. And as we get to know each other more, and everyone gets used to us talking more, it'll probably start going over 2-3 hours, probably.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, so anyway, guys, girls, that's it for this today's special. Thank you again, Hollie, and we'll see you all soon, guys. Take care.